Rev up your engines!
Well, Ford has had to stop their Mustang Mach-E deliveries, their electric SUV. They got electrical problems. What a surprise. They're building them in Mexico and they have electrical problems. What a shocker. They're not delivering them, but here's the joke from Ford. This is the BS that these corporations put out. Here's a clarification that Ford sent out. Please note, this is not a stop sale. Dealer can still sell the car. They just can't deliver it to the customer. Now, if that means they're not selling them, I don't know what does. Turns out that one of these main power connectors on a giant electric wires isn't right, and they can heat up and fuse. You use all that power, it's like welding. You know anything about welding? One of the easiest ways to weld is electric welding. You get a stick and a giant transformer, you put the negative on the metal, and when you touch the stick, it melts. That's how stick welding works, right? Well, this thing's going to stick weld itself together because they didn't build them right in Mexico. What a shocker. They're paying these people peanuts in Mexico. What do they think will happen? I don't know exactly what Ford's paying because they don't want to give out the information, but I looked at the GM data and some of their factories, these guys are making $6.85, not an hour. For an entire 12-hour day, they get $6.85. Well, guess what? They end up making crap. They're all built in Mexico. Well, guess what? You pay peanuts, what do you get? You get nutty cars that aren't built right. Turns out that the primary high voltage connectors can overheat and then fuse on. Yeah, and you understand that can also create fires. And it could be every single one they've made so far. Now, Ford says they don't expect to have a fix for this problem until the third quarter of 2022. They built them, they don't even know how to fix them. Well, actually, they probably do know how to fix them, but it costs them so much money, they're probably looking for a cheaper way to fix it. They're always looking for Band-Aids. Well, tape over this. That's what they did in some of the times in the past. When I was young, we had a car, it was a GM car, and the motor mounts would break. And the way the old cars are designed, then the motor would fall down and hit the ground. So their solution was, they didn't put new motor mounts on. They put a chain around the motor mount, so if it fell, it wouldn't hit the ground. And that was the recall. Just stick a chain on each one, takes 5 minutes. Away they went. Saved them a bunch of money. You still had a crappy car with motor mounts that wouldn't break. And then you'd have to go get them fixed later, but it wouldn't make the engine hit the ground. That was their fix. And Ford's obviously looking for a cheap fix now. Tyler Hawaii says, I got a 2000 Lexus with a NOx sensor code. I replaced both NOx sensors, and the car won't shift in the fifth gear and the code stays. Realize one thing first. You gotta use Lexus Toyota original equipment manufacturer, the OEM NOx sensors. You get some cheap Chinese ones, they probably won't work. Make sure you're using the right ones. But if you are, and it keeps doing that, then either you have a short in the wiring between the sensors and the computer, or the driver circuits in the computer are broken, so they're not working to get the information from the NOx sensors and the code for the NOx sensor chip, in which case you would need a brand new computer. So you're going to need a guy like me with a dealer level scan tool to do bidirectional testing to see, is it sending the power to the sensors? Are the sensors sending the power back? Get an ohm meter, check the wiring. Maybe the wires are corroded or worn. Especially you might want to go to the computer and unplug the giant morass of wires. They just pull out. Look inside. Maybe there's green corrosion. You can spray it with spray electrical cleaner. Get the green corrosion put on, that might fix it. I've seen them get corroded. Club Tropicana says, I got a transmission thump on a Jeep Grand Cherokee with 165,000 miles from dealer to pick up next week. The transmission thumps when you shift into reverse and sometimes into drive. They said they tightened the mount. That would correct it. Is there something wrong with the transmission? Well, it depends. You're going to pick it up right. Say, I'm not paying for it till I road test it. If it still thumps, that means it's inside the transmission. That will often clunk. But if its motor mount had either come loose or was broken, and they tighten it up or replace it and it doesn't thump, it's a very simple fix. It's just rubber, the mount, with metal on each end. When the rubber rips, clunk, clunk, right? So if the clunk is gone, great. Now, if the clunk's still there, that would mean it's internal to the transmission. Because the only thing that makes them clunk like that, park, reverse, reverse drive, is either the motor mounts are worn, and when you get into gear, motor and transmission clunk because the mounts are broken, or internal wear in the transmission that the shafts are clunking when you go from reverse to drive and park. Before you buy it, road test it. If the clunk's gone, they fixed it. If not, it's internal to the transmission. Don't pay for anything yet until you drive it. Uncle Marlon says, I have a scraping noise when I make a left turn, only when my air conditioning is on. Got no 7 Accord. For some odd reason, when the AC is on low, a scraping noise occurs when I make a left turn. Only on left turns and only when the compressor is running. Your compressor has a pulley. The fan belt runs the pulley, right? Now that just spins freely until you turn on the AC. Then there's electricity in the electromagnet, and that pulls the clutch in, and then the outside of the clutch spins. If it's only making a noise when you turn the AC on, only when you make a left turn, odds are something is scraping against the end of the compressor, the clutch end. Because the only difference between having the AC on and off is when it's off, that clutch end is just sitting there. It's not spinning. The pulley is, but the end isn't. Since that's not spinning, you take a turn, you don't get any noise. But then when it's spinning, you turn to get a noise. When you're turning it, the end is rubbing against something. Look in there. There might be a rubber panel that's coming off or some wiring or something. Something's rubbing on it when it's on and not when it's off. And the only difference between off and on is the very end of it, the end of the clutch, is going to be rubbing against something. So, and then when you take a turn, it's moving things around, wiring harness or a piece of plastic. One's probably loose and it's rubbing against it. I see that all the time. Papaya says, should I buy one of these cars? A 2018 Honda Civic Sport, 2004 Toyota Corolla S with 16,000 miles, 2020 Corolla SE at a dealership, or 2013 Subaru Impreza. Of course, it all depends on the price and what you want. A 2004 Corolla S, if it really only has 16,000 miles, you'll get a better price because it's an older car. You like the Corolla, get it. The Honda Civics are excellent cars too. Depends on the price and the mileage. You're picking good cars. There's nothing wrong. I'm not a big Subaru fan, so I would not buy the Subaru. I'm not a big fan of them. But between the Corolla and the Civic, they're both excellent cars. They're all used cars. Trust no one. Make sure it's a clean title. Make sure you get a mechanic like me to check it out before you buy, because it could be wrecked, flooded, stolen. You don't know the history of a car. And things like Carfax are a joke. They can't access lots of information. I've had people have cars that have been wrecked 3 times, and the Carfax says, according to our information, this car has never been in a wreck, and it's been totaled 3 times, because I knew the history of the car. So you can't believe any of that crap. That's a bunch of nonsense. It's just paperwork. You need a mechanic who knows what he's doing to actually check the crap out, and they'll tell you whether they're good cars or not. Don't buy any of them without a mechanic checking out, because the Toyota Corolla's been flooded or wrecked. It can be a bad car. You don't know until a mechanic checks it out for you. Jace 2K says, my car won't stay on. Why? It's an 03 Ford Escape, 6-cylinder. Every time I switch to drive, it shuts off, and no air comes from the AC vents. I accidentally tore a vacuum hose from a solenoid and can't find that hose. It's 2 combined to 1. I don't know how it was connected. All right, well, that's your problem. You got a vacuum leak. Now, see, you say no air comes from the AC vents, only defrost. If you have a massive vacuum leak on that old car, an 03 Escape, the vacuum helps run the AC system. By fail-safe methods, if you lose the vacuum pressure, it will only do defrost, and that's all yours is doing, only your defrost, because that's the position that if everything's broken, it automatically reverts to defrost only, so people don't get in wrecks. Because if your window fogs up, you can't see. So at least you got your window defog on. That's how they're made. So you do have a vacuum leak. Find that hose. Find where it goes. You go to places like AutoZone, they will print you up a vacuum diagram of every vacuum line on a car, but you should be able to hear it. When you start the car up, you're going to hear something sucking, or if you can't, get some spray, anything. And when you get to where the hose is, the idle will start getting funky. It won't hurt it, but it'll change the idle. Then look right there and you'll see the hose is there. Find where it plugs in. Or if push comes to shove, get a screw and screw it in the hole so it doesn't suck air anymore, so you won't have problems. But you have a vacuum leak because of that. Somewhere under there's a leak. Find it, see where you work. There's got to be a place where it plugs in. And if you can't figure that out, and you can put your finger on a hose that's sucking air, you put it on, it stops sucking, just plug it with a screw for the time being, and then go to a mechanic like me and we'll figure out exactly where it goes. But you could plug it with a screw, it starts idling okay. You keep driving it that way. It's an old car, it's an old 3. I mean, in some places, an 03, you don't even need to get emissions inspected anymore, so you don't have to worry about all that crap. The classic Cadillac says, should I be concerned about ethanol or lead on an early 70s car? I got a 70 Mercury Marquis with a 429 V8. Now, what should I do if you have the regular gasoline that people sell that says contains 10% ethanol? It says may contain, that means it does. They put additives in so that little bit of alcohol doesn't bother older cars. Your main problem is you got a 70 Marquis with a 429 V8. That thing was basically made to run on high test gasoline. You run a lower test gasoline, you might get a little bit of knock in it. I mean, if it runs okay, that's okay. Now, as for the lead versus no lead, well, lead was a lubricant, but now they have various other things to lubricate. That's not a particular problem. You don't have to worry about that. that, because you can only buy unleaded gas now anyway, so it doesn't matter. You have no choice. The little bit of 10% ethanol that's in normal gasoline shouldn't hurt it at all, because chemists and engineers that work there, they're not idiots. They figured out how to stabilize that ethanol mixed with the 90% gasoline. Now, never, ever think about putting E85 ethanol in that thing. That's 85% ethanol and 15% gasoline. That would destroy all the rubber. But the regular gasoline shouldn't bother it at all. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.